If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz, and I'm here today with...
Kim Shactman.
Kim, how are you today?
Good. How are you? Tired today.
Oh, just a long-ass week, I gotta say. But,
Yeah, well, we're smack dab in the middle of winter time, and the holidays are over, so it's going to be a long couple months, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of holidays, we are here today to review the 1983 comedy Trading Places, starring Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Don Ameche, Ralph Bellamy, Denholm Elliott, and Jamie Lee Curtis, directed by John Landis. You know what? I'm just going to get into the question right now. I was going to do this at the end.
Okay.
Kim, we just watched this. Is Trading Places a holiday movie?
No.
No, of course not. What is this?
No.
God, what is with people? Like, oh, man.
Why? Why do they think that? Just because they have a Christmas party in the movie? Like,
essentially. Like, I think that's really the mentality. And then when you say, like, no, that's silly, they'd be like, stop yucking other people's yum. If people want to think of it as a Christmas movie, it could be a Christmas movie. And,
it's fine, but you guys are still wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. God.
Yeah, no, it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just don't get it. Like, man.
You do you, whatever. But
sure.
I still don't agree.
Sure. Like,
we can agree to disagree.
I think, honestly, man, I think people are starting to realize as they get older that the quality in Christmas films are really limited. And when they start to realize, like, oh, it's either I watch the same thing I've watched every year or Hallmark Channel films. So... Die Hard is set in Christmas. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like,
they make it their own. That's fine. Whatever.
Sure. But doesn't mean you have to make it for me too. So it's like
right. Yeah. No, don't push it on others as a Christmas movie if they don't feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. Other people don't like to be wrong. So let's get into the review of Trading Places, directed by John Landis. And before we do that, let's get into the plot. Basically, the film is about an investor played by Dan Aykroyd, who gets wrapped up in a kind of bet or experiment run by his bosses, played by Don Ameche and Ralph Bellamy, that think that if they would take a poor, destitute street hustler, played by Eddie Murphy, and put him in Aykroyd's position, would he flourish? And if Aykroyd went down to the level of where the street hustler was, would he survive?
Right.
And they basically execute this plan to see what happens. That's basically the plot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole plot.
Those of you who may have listened to a review I did of My Fair Lady would probably recognize the plot right away, because this actually is a remake of My Fair Lady, but in a comedy sense. But My Fair Lady is a remake of Pygmalion. It's a snake eating its own tail on this case. So.
I don't know what Pygmalion is.
Pygmalion is basically the basics of the story is it's a play.
Oh.
Two intellectuals bet that they can turn a poor, disadvantaged young woman who is from the streets into a debutante and have her pass as somebody who lives among them.
Because I know My Fair Lady. Mm-hmm. I've seen the play. I've seen the movie. So that was taken the movie is so from good. That play?
Yes.
Oh.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's basically what it's from. I love My Fair Lady. Oh,
I love My Fair Lady.
So
I watched that when I was really young. I think I was like 10 when I first saw that movie.
I saw it for the first time 6 months ago and reviewed it, and I was like, I love Rex Harrison in that movie.
That makes me want to go back and watch it again because I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Oh, it's so good. Oh man. Okay. But this is not about My Fair Lady. We'll talk afterwards. Yeah. So let's get into our 3 points of Trading Places. Kim, do you want to start?
Sure. So for my first point, after watching the film, I went into the film thinking it was supposed to be like this really high comedy type film. Like, you know, the whole film is comedic, and because it has Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in it, right? And
right.
I mean, anyone who knows them, which is probably most of the world, know that they are, you know, comedic actors. But when I watched the film, I didn't think it was that funny. Like, I feel like it fell flat for me for numerous reasons, but I think going into it, my expectations for the humor of it were high, and I barely laughed. Like, I was like, okay. So it really fell flat for me for many different reasons. And I think, too, like, you kind of have a few points that go over that as well. But I also realized, too, with a few films I've seen, I'm not a huge Eddie Murphy fan.
Really?
Yeah, like I think he's a good actor, but like I don't think his comedy is really that funny.
I think Eddie Murphy's comedy, when it comes to these movies, have aged rather poorly at times, and I think this is definitely one of them. Even though, with my point, I think the best parts are with Murphy in this, and also
in this movie, but I mean, like, just in general. So it's hard for me to even like the only parts that he's good in this movie because I don't love him. Like, I don't know. Like, my husband loves him. Like, thinks he's like wicked funny, and like I just don't. Like, I'm like, okay. Like maybe, I think there were like maybe 2 one-liners in this film from him that I kind of chuckled at a little, but I wasn't like really laughing that hard or anything. And my husband's on the couch, like, belly laughing. And I'm like, really? Like,
yeah.
Nah.
Well, I can understand that to an extent. I think the Murphy parts are best because I do like Murphy. I don't like him as much as I used to. But also, his plotline fits well with the original Pygmalion plotline. Because Pygmalion originally had the plotline where it was just about the girl going from poor, destitute to rich.
Yeah, that's like the known plot.
That's the known plot. And I think that fits with this movie very well. Almost to the point where I think if they would have just kept with that, I think
it would have been better.
It might have been. Absolutely. I do agree, though. I think with Murphy, the comedy was fine. It's with Aykroyd where it's like, I'm not entirely understanding as to why this is supposed to be funny. So get to your second point, because it's going to...
Because it kind of ties in. Yeah, like, I just felt like for Dan Aykroyd, I like him as a comedic actor. I think he's hilarious in other films. But in this film, like, it was his character. Like, obviously Dan Aykroyd is not a bad actor. Like, I like him in other films. I think he's really funny. But he had like nothing to work with in this film. It was just like the writing. Like, I felt like it was just like, you know what it was? Like, I watched his character in the film and I just felt like, could anyone else play this character outside of Dan Aykroyd? And I was like, yeah, like anyone. Like, I felt like not anyone, but most actors could, because it was so generic.
His character is snobby, is elitist, and yes, a lot of people could play that. So there was really nothing with Aykroyd that he could have done to make it his own. And most of their jokes are basically, he's poor now, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's not gonna work for about 2 hours, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, all right, like, you got the point across when he was like basically thrown out onto the street with dirty clothes, a black eye, and, you know, a hooker. And it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
like, you know.
And his story is way too dark for this type of comedy. Like, the comedy seems to want to be light, and the feel of it wants to be lighter. But what happens to him? He loses his job, loses his money, loses his house, loses his girlfriend. He jokes that he was almost raped in prison. Like, I'm looking at this going...
I forgot about that part. I was like, what?
And I'm like...
And he's supposed to be, he was like this snobby, prim and proper person for him. So for him to even be talking like that, I'm like, wow, that went from like super prim and proper rich to like talking about getting like gang raped in prison. Like, what? Like, I don't feel like somebody like that would talk to others like that. But I guess that's the point of the movie. Like, I guess when you're down and out, you change. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, what?
Yeah, that is a good point. Like,
but it was fast. Like, everything was like really fast, and I'm like, I don't know if somebody would change that quickly.
But the film wants you to laugh at this, and this is where I was kind of like,
yeah, and
whoa,
I was like,
wait a minute,
this isn't funny. Like,
yeah,
this poor, like, I felt bad for him. Like, I was like, this poor guy. Like, what? He didn't do anything. Like, why? Like, you know, and
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it wasn't funny. It definitely wasn't funny.
The most he did was the way that he treated Eddie Murphy's character when Eddie Murphy's character wasn't really doing anything. But, like, that's just because of the way he was raised and everything. So,
right.
I guess they want you to feel okay with him being shit on this way, but at that point I was like, not really. I think it's fucked up, but I don't think it was like, oh God, like he deserved everything that's coming to him. Like that's
right.
I don't agree with that at all in this. Which we might as well get to our third point.
I know, we're kind of flying through these because they're all a little similar and they all play off of each other. Like, Wiz already went over basically his first 2 points as well, with the best parts are with Murphy, and the story is way too dark for Dan Aykroyd, with Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, our third point, which is the tonal clash of this movie. The movie wants you to laugh at the fish out of water experiences of both characters, which with Eddie Murphy's character, I had no problem doing with certain scenes. I thought they were pretty funny at points.
Yeah, like a few of them, like they fit with his character and what he's going through.
But then to say like, oh, Aykroyd's like, haha, he's drunk on the streets, about to kill himself.
Yeah,
I'm like,
this is not funny.
What?
Well, like, why? Because he's wearing a Santa suit? That's what makes it funny? Like,
and he's eating salmon outside of his suit? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
looking. Did you just call it salmon? It's salmon.
I'm sorry, you elitists over there.
Salmon.
Yeah, I know, I fucked up.
Hey, come on.
Yeah.
Now we're making that scene funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. No, you got me.
That's the only thing I've laughed at so far at that part of the movie.
Yeah. Oh man.
Salmon. Now I'm gonna use that.
Oh.
My husband's like, "What's for dinner tonight?" Salmon.
You know the Jersey boy's called Salmon? Probably doesn't know too many guys named Sal.
They caught that salmon right off the Jersey Shore.
Oh, go fuck yourself. Good lord.
That was good. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Okay.
That's like the only thing I'm laughing at with Dan Aykroyd now is salmon, not fucking even the movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, it was more like gross than anything. Like, I was like, this guy's disgusting.
Yeah. Like, what he goes through is terrible in this movie.
Yeah.
But they try and play it for laughs. And I'm watching, like, you're not succeeding in this one. Like, it's watching him go through all this stuff, like, for anybody. Like, and there's probably plenty of people who've went through something like this, where they're so low that they had to
kill themselves.
Yeah. And here you are trying to play it for comedy, and the only reason why I could see someone laughing at this goes, haha, rich person gets down and out. Yeah, kill yourself, pig. I'm like, no, that's fucking
not
terrible.
Okay. Yeah, like,
it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this couldn't work. It could, but you would really need to blend that really, really well.
I almost feel like maybe if they made Dan Aykroyd's character treat being that low almost like humorous, like almost like, oh, like, I'm gonna go hang out with the street gang, like, type, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like he's not sad about it. He's just like, all right, this is what it is. I'm gonna ride it out until I can get to the top again. So let me just like make do with what I have and like be okay with it. And like, I mean, not that would really happen, I guess, because he goes from being like the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor. So I'm of course he's gonna be depressed and sad, but like. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think for like the movie's sake, like how could they have spun that to make it more humorous, you know, like almost like having scenes of him like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna, you know, act like a poor person because I am now, and what do poor people do, you know, like how do they live, what do they do, like is there a way I can get ahead as a poor person, you know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to think of how they would spin that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make it into like a story of retribution to a certain extent. Instead, he's constantly depressed for good reason.
Right. For a comedy, like, no. This is not
I know.
It's not a full-on comedic film.
I think what I did in my written review is I compared it to, let's say, hey, let's have the tone, let's mix the tones of Requiem for a Dream with...
Oh my God!
The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Exactly it. Like, what the fuck?
Like,
this is really fucked up. And then, like, the whole time, I'm just like, oh, this is really sad. And then I'm like, oh, it's Eddie Murphy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you're poor. I'm like,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Like, what is going on here? Like, it's like almost like two separate movies.
It kind of feels that way, absolutely. And I guess the other thing is, like, the characters are pretty one note too. Like the two bosses. Like
they reminded me of what's this called? The Muppets. Those two guys that sit in the balcony.
God, Wilford and God, what are their names?
I forget. Is one of them named Marty? I feel like one of the Muppets characters' names is Marty, and that's one of the names of the guys in the film.
Hold on a second.
The characters.
Is it? Well,
Google it.
One of them is named Marty. I know that.
Yeah.
The old men.
Old men Muppets.
They're my favorite though.
Yeah, they're
Statler
hilarious.
and Waldorf. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of that because in Muppet Christmas Carol they were the two practitioners that were with Scrooge before they died.
Yeah.
They were called Marty and Marty, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's probably where I'm getting it from. But no, like they remind I don't know, just like
and Marley.
Well, because like in the movie too, they're betting, and those two Muppets. So like every like scene or movie I've seen them, and they're always like betting something. So that's what made me think of it. I don't know.
This ties in with the Pygmalion thing because Pygmalion, that's what they do in the with the two intellectuals, is they bet it whether Eliza can do it or not, and. This would fit well if it was just the thing with Eddie Murphy. But because they added that thing with Aykroyd, it was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then they become like cartoonish supervillains because they're recognizing what they're doing and they're laughing at it. It's like, oh, I never would have expected Louis, I forget what his name is, but Louis to sink so low.
Winthrop.
Winthrop.
Louis Winthrop.
And once they recognize what he did, like, I don't want Winthrop back after what I've just seen. I'm like, good Lord. Are
like, you created you dumbass.
Like cartoonish supervillains. It's
like this is so stupid. Like, the only thing that works good with like the whole betting thing is like I think the end. I thought the end of the film was like the funniest for me personally. Like
sure, because they get their comeuppance
during the
commodities trading.
Yeah, during the trading scene, that's what I thought was the funniest out of the whole movie. Honestly, that's just for me. Like because I didn't find a lot of the movie funny, so I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, you know. I
think what the film really showed is that the people that do that job, what it says to me is, oh, really anyone can do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which I don't think that was the purpose, but like it's like
exactly. I don't want to like spoil it for anyone, but I just like the line Eddie Murphy gives when the trading's done for the day to them. I thought that was funny. Yeah.
All right, Kim. So who do you recommend this for?
Eddie Murphy groupies. People that are really obsessed with Eddie Murphy because I mean, groupies.
Okay.
Like, because I mean, I think like he was okay in it. Like, I didn't think he was bad at all. I think he was kind of carried the film to keep my attention enough. Yeah. You know. So like, if you're a diehard Eddie Murphy fan, you really really like him, then watch it. I think you would really enjoy it. And then I'd recommend it for those that enjoy dark comedy from the 80s. There was a lot of I was like, oh damn, like I'm really getting old because there's a lot of like racism in this.
Oh my God.
And they're like a shit ton. They said the N-word like 3 times coming out of white folks, mouths. And then there was also a lot of like sexual humor, and there were so many boobs. I
wasn't gonna mention this, but yes, like
I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many times is somebody gonna take their shirt off just to take their shirt off? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why? There was absolutely no need for it either.
Yeah, like there's people partying, and all of a sudden they're
just taking their shirts off. And the party scene is like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm like, I've not been to many parties, but that's really never happened. But okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, are you trying to say that like low class people are sexual? Like, what the fuck?
We can really dive into that because the way that the film really treats its subjects is all the white people in this film are upper class, know how to behave, know how to act in good faith, and all the black people are like degenerate and like it's just like whoa,
trashy. Yeah, and I'm just like, what? This is not real. Maybe that was a stereotype in the 80s, but I'm like,
definitely the stereotype. Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. But even for like an 80s movie, I was kind of like, really? Like, this is kind of like really hardcore like, I get the stereotypical stuff because that's how it was back then, but more like the boobs. Like, I'm like, why?
Like, I thought the stereotyping of, like, the races was just like, wow, that's really, like, coded in there. It's like...
I mean, it's not good. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, I've seen other movies where it's kind of like that, too. You know what I mean? Like, it's common for that era. But the boobies, like... Fucking Jamie Lee Curtis, like, she just, like, ripped her shirt off and got into bed when he's sick. Like, come on. Like, did you have to take your shirt off? Like,
I know, that was weird.
Put a nightie on, like, or, like, a t-shirt. Like, really? Like, for what? Like, they weren't sexual. They weren't having sex. So I'm like, why?
And that romance element did not work at all. But
no.
Again, it really meant little to the movie.
Right,
Kim, so that's what you recommend.
So, yeah, like, I'm like, I guess if you just, like, random fucking tits flashing, then go for it. But I was just like, this is dumb. Like,
okay, that's a good point. Random
Yeah, write that down. Recommended for people that like random titty movies.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
I'm putting it on there.
Okay.
Okay, so Kim, who do you not recommend this for?
Children.
Yeah.
No children should be watching this film whatsoever. Those that enjoyed Dan Aykroyd in very comedic roles, it's not recommended for people that assume Dan Aykroyd is going to be hilarious in this film because he is fucking not.
Mm-hmm.
And then those that are easily offended by hardcore racism and sexual comedy because you will be fucking highly offended and not want to watch this movie.
If you need your comedy politically correct, this ain't the movie for you.
Yes.
It absolutely is not that.
No.
And with the racism stuff as well, Aykroyd's in blackface at one point in the movie.
Yeah!
I was like, what the hell?
And now I'm just like, what is going on? Like, come on. Like, now you're just being fucking bad. Like, that's bad.
And one of the main villains gets anally raped by an ape. I was like, what the hell is going on?
And they just toss that in there at the end, and I'm like, what the fuck? And what's that guy's name that's in it? That's the gorilla when you first see I forget his name all the time. He's pretty popular. He's the gorilla when they first get on the thing, and then they take the suit off him.
Oh, James Belushi.
Thank you. Yeah. I was like, okay, and he's in this movie for like 2 seconds? Like, it was so weird.
Yeah. And so is Al Franken. He's in it for like a few seconds as like a future and former senator, Al Franken. So
like it was just like really random. Yeah.
All right, Kim. So who do I recommend this for? I recommend this for people if you like Eddie Murphy. I think Eddie Murphy's parts are the best parts of this movie, and I think it's the parts that actually work. And I would recommend it if you like dark humor. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's very dark. I think...
But it's pretty dark.
It's dark, but I think it's like... There are much more darker, humorous films than this. Yeah. I just don't think the elements really work well with the story. But if you like it, give it a shot. And I do not recommend this for people if you can't handle non-PC comedy or stereotypes, because this film is rife with it.
Yeah.
Rife with it. Holy crap.
All over it.
I was surprised.
I'm glad I brought that up because I was just like, is he thinking what I'm thinking? Because this is like fucked.
Honestly, I was surprised.
I'm like, if they said the N-word one more time, I was like, I think I need to shut this off.
Well, they said... Honestly, if they said the N-word once, they would say Negro a lot, which is just like...
It's just as bad, I feel like. I'm just like, oh.
It's bad in the context at which they say it. Like,
yes.
You can say... I think it's okay for a white person to say that in the context of, like, if I say, oh, it's the Negro Leagues from baseball, or it's I Am Not Your Negro, that movie. Like, that's fine.
I still hate the word.
I do too. But, like, the context of which they say it is just like, ugh.
That's so condescending and negative. I'm like, oh, my God.
Exactly. I definitely agree. Like, would I call somebody that? No. But, like, actually, now that I'm coming to think of it, you're probably
just makes
right.
Me, like, want to, like, throw up. Like, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, why?
I think in the context you're saying you're probably right. The only context I can say Negro is if I am relating it to like a specific time period or if it's called something like that.
Like, like if the film is named that, then obviously you have to say it if you're talking about the film. Yeah.
But like there's a book that's just the N-word, and there's no fucking way I'm saying that word.
Yeah, no,
It's like,
no. Like, it's just awful.
Like, I'm just like, ugh, no.
There's no need for it. Like,
Yeah. It was to show that these people are bad, but, like, it became, like, really excessive.
Like, why can't they just say, like, dark-skinned? Like, why do they have to say... Like, for this particular movie, I'm like, this is supposed to be a comedy, not, like, hardcore racism. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It was not needed in the movie.
Yeah. All right, Kim, so overall, do you recommend this movie?
No. I don't recommend this movie because I just would never watch it again. Like, it's boring to me. Like, I didn't find it funny. I felt bad for Dan Aykroyd. Like I said, like, I'm all set with seeing any more tits. Yeah, a lot of racism, and I'm also just not an Eddie Murphy fan. So
Okay.
I would never watch this movie again. Even if my husband had it on, I would probably plug my headphones in and let him have his joy with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I do not recommend this as well. I was actually kind of surprised by how little I laughed at this movie.
I was surprised too because everyone from what I heard through the grapevine, everyone said it was like a really funny movie.
I know.
And I was like,
And I'm just like watching this movie. I'm going, like, why? Like, again, the Eddie Murphy stuff. I'm like, okay, I can see how that's funny, and there's some parts of it that's pretty funny.
Some parts, yeah.
But the Aykroyd stuff is just where I'm like,
brings it down like by 100 pegs.
Yeah,
like I'm just like, oh my god,
what the hell?
Yeah.
Like if it was like a fish out of water thing, like, this isn't my pimento bread. What is this Wonder Bread?
Like that's how I thought they were gonna spin it, and I was like waiting for that, and then I'm like, and then he's like about to kill himself, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like,
if he's having comedy of like, what is this GIF? I only take my peanut butter from the plains of Nicaragua, and
right, or like, oh, nobody's going to hail a cab for me. Let me grab my 2-speed bike. You know what I mean? Like, or something stupid like that. Like,
hello, my friends. Do you play squash? I'm like, man, what the hell?
Yeah. Nah, son, nah.
Oh, that I was like, okay, maybe that's what this is. But like, it's more like, oh my god, my life is ruined. Let me shoot myself. Oh, the gun doesn't work.
Friends, please help me. And they're like, no.
Yeah. Oh, and the gun won't work. Let me throw the gun. Oh, now the bullet fires. Like, what?
Yeah, like it was so weird. I'm like, and that scene, I was just like, did the gun just go off? What just happened? And then I'm like, I think it did. Oh well, doesn't really matter. He's not dead.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Like the thing with Dan Aykroyd too in this film is like, I'm used to him in the supernatural horror roles. That's what he does now, is horror comedies, supernatural roles, stuff like that. So I'm used to him that way. And then if you want to mention My Girl, okay, fine. But like,
such a good movie. I love My Girl. Well, I love him in My Girl, I should say.
Yeah. Okay.
I do. I thought he was good in it.
Sure. It's been a while since I've seen it. But to watch him in this as like a snobby upper crust kind of like, it was like, I don't see this at all.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't see it at all. So overall, we agree. We do not recommend Trading Places, which is probably going to upset a few people because they're like, how can you not find Trading Places funny? I'm like,
it's the funniest thing ever. Like, and yeah.
Because
wait till my husband finds out that I don't recommend it. He'll be like, what is wrong with you? I'll be like, I don't know. Just go watch a dumb movie again. I'm not watching.
Just do what I do and say, I have taste. That's the problem.
He'll be like, and then he'll come back and be like, yeah, but you like fucking Elizabethtown. And then I'll just be like, shut up.
He's got you there, actually.
No, he doesn't.
He's got you there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. No. So overall, we do not recommend Trading Places. Whoa. Not a complete disaster, but still.
Just still don't recommend.
Yeah, no. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. Kim, before we get into what I'm watching next week, or what we're watching next week.
He's gonna hit me with the question.
I have a question for you, absolutely.
Okay.
So Oscar nominations were this past week, and of course, the big one that got nominated was Oppenheimer. It got, I believe, 13 nominations. But what's getting all the talk is the Barbie nominations, or lack thereof. Barbie was nominated for 8 different categories, including Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor Ryan Gosling, and Best Supporting Actress America Ferrera. Mm-hmm. But there's controversy surrounding it, with not only with people in the film industry commenting about it, but also the likes of Hillary Clinton also chiming in as to why. Yes, she tweeted and basically lamented how, and this is where the controversy is, how Greta Gerwig did not get nominated for Best Director, and Margot Robbie did not get nominated for Best Actress. What are your thoughts on the fact that both Gerwig and Robbie did not get nominated for those categories?
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, because I feel like Ryan Gosling and America Ferrera, I feel like they deserve those nominations.
Absolutely, and they're getting drowned out from all this.
Yeah, and that makes me sad for them, because I thought what's her name again? Robbie, whatever?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, thank you. I mean, I think she's good. I think she's good in the film, but I wouldn't say she's Oscar worthy. Mm-hmm. Again, I just think that it's not a performance that stayed with me. Whereas when I think of Barbie, like, the number one person I think of is Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I think Ken. I'm with you there.
Like, I don't think about Barbie, like, really that much. Unless, like you said, it's the touching story of America Ferrera and kind of how she is helping Barbie along the way and other women. So Hillary Clinton, just shut the fuck up. Just stay out of it. Like, you are not a fucking film critic. You are not a fucking director. You're not a producer. You're not a fucking actress. Well, maybe if you're acting in politics. But it's like, just stay out of it. No. No. But then with Greta what is her name?
Greta Gerwig. Right.
I can never pronounce. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe she could, deserve a nomination. I think she's pretty good. I mean, I haven't really seen many of her films except for this and then Little Women that we just watched last year.
And Lady Bird.
Oh, and Lady Bird. Yes, thank you. You always remind me of that. Mm-hmm. So I do think she's good at what she does. So, and for Barbie, I mean, the way she directed it and it was a pretty intense film, but with like that comedic overlay. So it must have been like a difficult project for her. You know what I mean? So like, I definitely think that she deserves a nomination, but when it comes to the main actress, I was like, I don't think it deserves the hype. And stop drowning out the people that deserve it. Yeah.
The reason why Hillary Clinton probably got involved and mentioned something, because there were a lot of political pundits and a lot of people on newspapers who deal in politics who are commenting on this and having editorials on this. There's editorials on this on, I believe, The Independent, CNN, stuff like that. All this a bellwether as to how such a pro-feminist movie did not get nominated for its pro-feminist character and director. And I think that's why a lot of politicians are commenting on this.
But like, the Oscars isn't about just pro-femininity.
Oh, well, you'd think that.
I mean, the Oscars better than I do as, an awards ceremony. I mean, that's not what it's about, right? Like, it's about films.
It's not, but you'd be surprised. Here's the thing, though, okay? There's several things that you have to think about as well. First off, the people that cover the Oscars, the people that review movies, I follow a lot of. For months, all of them have been saying, nah, Gerwig and Robbie are not getting nominated. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Like, for director and the best actress, it's not happening. And they've known it. And the reason why is both of those categories, director and actress, are unprecedentedly competitive this year. Unprecedentedly. It was so intense this year. I posted this on X as well. People are saying Annette Bening shouldn't have gotten nominated because it was the only nomination that film got was Nyad for that film. But she got nominated for Best Actress. And people are like, take away her and that's it. You put Margot Robbie in. And I had to point out, no, because there's 5 other actresses who probably would have gotten nominated over her. It was an intense year for Best Actress.
That's crazy. Because feminism.
Yeah,
come on.
But that was one of the most competitive as well. Same thing with director. And on top of that, there were other female directors that could have gotten nominated that probably deserved it more. In fact, if you want to go the pro-feminism route, a female director did get nominated for director this year, which is Justine Triet. She got nominated, but because no one knows the movie, no one cares.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I do know that, like you said, there probably are other women out there that they could even be bigger feminists. Who knows? We don't even know, right? Because it didn't get their movies or films or whatever. They didn't get the press that Barbie got.
No, absolutely. And then the other thing, too, that was really annoying, that people were just not paying attention to the details of this. Because, again, the people who cover it knew this was going to happen. Margot Robbie was not getting nominated. Greta Gerwig was not getting Best Director.
But the people that don't know and don't follow Oscar nominations and information, they just open their fucking mouths and they're like,
exactly.
Well, what about Barbie? Everything should be about Barbie because it's all about feminism and da 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 da. And it's like, no, you need to look at everybody. You cannot just look at Barbie.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that says how the Oscars are so out of touch. How did they not get nominated when it made $1 bajillion? It made almost $1 billion this year. And what I will also say is Top Gun Maverick also got
but
best.
I was going to say, it's not about the money.
It's not. But the Oscars have been doing this where they're trying to get more popular films into Best Picture because the thing that they keep hearing is you're irrelevant because popular movies aren't in there. They purposely raised the amount of Best Picture nominees from 5 to 10 to combat this. Last year, Top Gun Maverick, the most money-making film from last year, got nominated for Best Picture. So did Avatar: The Way of Water, got nominated for Best Picture. They also got snubbed for Best Actor, Best Director. Both films.
Yeah, so look at that pattern right there.
And not a peep. Yep. On top of that, comedies don't do well with the Oscars. They just don't.
No.
They almost never do.
It's always like dramas and like...
Right.
Yeah, no.
And it takes performances that are really standout performances, like Ryan Gosling and America Ferrera.
Yeah,
that
like those
get
are the
nominated.
two that stuck with me for the film. Like, right away, I mean, Barbie was fine, but Ken is fucking hilarious.
Oh,
he's the man in that film. Like,
absolutely.
I don't care.
Absolutely. And then, on top of that as well, Margot Robbie's character is what you would call a straight character, which is the character that is reacting to all the craziness.
Right.
And they almost never get nominated. Ever. They never get nominated because they're not the most interesting character. They are the character that's reacting to the craziness. That's the purpose of that character.
Kind of like in Trading Places where Dan Aykroyd is kind of the straight character.
But here is the extra screwed up part about this for the people who are not paying attention. Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig did get Oscar nominations this year.
They did?
Yes. Margot Robbie is producer on Barbie. And because Barbie is nominated for Best Picture, she is up for a Best Picture Oscar. Michael Douglas is an Oscar winner, not because of his acting, because he was a producer on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He has an Oscar.
Such a good movie.
Yes, absolutely. And Greta Gerwig did get nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay with her husband Noah Baumbach, which I would say the most important thing about Barbie is the screenplay. And she got nominated for that.
You tell him, Wiz. You tell him.
So the people who are complaining about this don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they have been nominated. Yeah. And on top of that, if you listen to what these women are saying, yes, Greta Gerwig did a good job directing, but she talks more about the writing process with her husband. And on top of that, Margot Robbie doesn't talk about much about her acting performance. She talks about the importance of her producing the movie. They're both happy with the nominations they got. Except everybody else.
They just want to stir the pot. They need something to talk about, and Hillary just wants to get back in the spotlight.
Oh, God.
She needs something to talk about, so let's talk about the fucking Barbie movie with the Oscar nomination. Like, come on.
But what's annoying, too, are the people who cover this stuff are being like, oh, it's a travesty. It just shows that feminism is not as powerful as this because the patriarchy won and that Ryan Gosling won. You can't have Ken without Barbie. And I'm like, that's the fucking point of the movie. You know that, right? Like, That's the fucking point, right?
It is the fucking point. Like I just cannot stand it. Like, and I trust you because you live and breathe films and you know the Oscars and you do your research, whereas others just like assume and they just see whatever is like, you know, just being out on the news and out on social media and not actually deep diving into like what is behind people getting nominated.
Right.
You know,
it was crazy. The day before, everyone knew who covered this stuff. Everyone knew who talked about this stuff. Yeah, Margot Robbie ain't getting nominated. Oh, no, Greta Gerwig is not getting director. And they were fine with it. They were like, okay, but if Justin Triet or Celine Song gets nominated, then...
And it's not like Barbie's not in it at all. It's in there for Best Picture.
Right, but the thing to keep in mind, though, is there's only been a couple of films that won Best Picture without getting a Best Director nom. Argo is the last one that did it. Like, Argo did not get I think also Green Book did not have a Best Director nom. They don't win Best Picture usually. Right now, it's looking pretty slim that Barbie will win Best Picture.
See, that's how much I fucking know about the Oscars.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
no, I know.
That's why I'm just like, I don't, like, what, but that's why I'm just like, that's why I don't fucking talk about the Oscars. So I'm like, I don't know enough to know enough. But these people are just opening their mouths and they don't even know the facts.
Barbie might very well win Best Adapted Screenplay. It's looking like that might be the case. Although I am starting to think it might not happen that way because Oppenheimer is also in that category.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
So unless they decide that, okay, well, we don't want to get more of this bullshit controversy, so let's throw it to Barbie, I guess. That might be the only way it gets. But then there is also that other...
sad.
But that's what happens all the time. Like this is what happens with the Oscars all the time. The performances that win are usually we're sorry performances because we didn't have you win for the performance you should have won. That's why, for example, Elizabeth Taylor won for Butterfield 9, or I think the film was, that no one has heard of, but she didn't win for Cleopatra or any of her other films.
Oh, yeah, or like, what's his name? Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, that's why Brendan Fraser won for The Whale, even though, like, people who have seen it, some love it, but some are like, that's
a fucked up movie.
Yeah, like a lot of people think it's a terrible movie, but he won because... I didn't
think it was terrible. I was just like, wow, this is a crazy story.
That's what generally happens.
He's done so many other films where I feel like he should have won than The Whale.
Yeah, I don't...
I mean, like, not like a ton more, but like, I feel like there are other films that he was better in than that film.
I guess. Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, Best Adapted Screenplay. Here are the 5 that are nominated. American Fiction, Zone of Interest, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Oppenheimer and Poor Things are the big ones.
I don't know what Poor Things is.
Poor Things is the one with Emma Stone.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty crazy. It's it's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and he's a very good director. But
I'll have to go watch that. I want to see that.
Let's hold up on that.
Okay.
we'll talk afterwards. Maybe you want. But like, I'm looking at this right now. Zone of Interest is something that people who are into movies think is an amazing movie. American Fiction is something that I think a lot of people also really like. Oppenheimer is the presumptive favorite. Poor Things has the art house people. Mm-hmm. If Barbie were to win it with those two, like, I like Barbie, don't get me wrong, but if Barbie were to win against these other 4, I think a lot of people would look at that another year later and go, really? Like, really?
I think Oppenheimer's gonna take a lot of it.
I agree. I think Oppenheimer is gonna sweep, except for maybe Best Actor, because there seems to be a push to get Paul Giamatti to win, and me being a big Paul Giamatti fan, I'm okay with that. But again, we're going to find out how we feel about that movie anyway, because next week...
Yes. What are we watching next week? See how you just rolled that right in there?
Yeah, I had to stop because I was going to go like longer.
Yeah, you're getting pissed. No.
Yeah, so next week, Tuesday, I'm going to review Past Lives, directed by Celine Song. Thursday, me and Zero are going to review Thunderball for the 007 debriefings. And Saturday, Kim, what are we watching?
The Holdovers.
We are watching The Holdovers, the Oscar-nominated film for Best Picture, Actor, and Screenplay, directed by Alexander Payne. Man, I know
nothing about the film, and I'm excited to see it, because sometimes I just really like going into watching a film and not knowing anything about it.
Yeah, so this week is Oscar nominations for this year. That's why Past Lives I'm watching, and we're watching The Holdovers. I cannot wait for this. I'm a huge Paul Giamatti fan. The only reason why I am still watching Billions is because I like Paul Giamatti that much. I'll put it that. And if this is supposed to be his best performance, I'm looking forward to it and seeing how it is. Tune in next week where I review Past Lives on Tuesday, Thunderball on Thursday with Zero, and The Holdovers with me and Kim Shactman. I am The Wiz.
I'm Kim Shactman.
Talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.